second live stream of the day, and we are live. There it is. All right, here we go. So, Friday Night Live. We haven't done one of these, I feel like, in a little bit. I feel like we haven't done a Friday Night Live or have we? I don't know. I feel like I've skipped the last few Friday Night Lives. Boy, oh boy, guys, it's been a long day. It has definitely been a long day. I am exhausted, but you know what? We're here for it. We're here, and we're going to do the thing. Thank you all for joining us this evening. This is Weather Center Live, Friday night, January 5th, 2024, and the hype continues across the weather sphere. No sooner did I clock out of work earlier today, and I checked YouTube just for the heck of it, and I see, just got worse, getting worse, and it's like, y'all realize nothing has changed, right? We're still looking at the same thing, guys. Like, nothing's getting worse. Maybe it's getting worse because you're noticing things you didn't notice at first, but we're still kind of sitting in the same, predicament. RGFRGFT Ford, hi there. Rigga, your username, hi there. Mick and Marley, welcome. Howdy. And I understand completely about leaving Marley home alone. I wouldn't want to do that myself with Willow. That's for certain. Super Charas, welcome in. Milagros, welcome. Good evening. PM, it's the weekend, but Tuesday is storm day. Tuesday is storm day for us here in Florida. It'll be starting earlier than that. Probably middle of the day. Monday is when, I was almost going to cuss, when things are going to really ignite for Texas and then move off to the east from there. We're still not far enough or close enough in time to see high-res model data. I was just taking a glance at that a little bit ago, but you can kind of see the return flow in the warm sector beginning to establish itself over the central west Gulf of Mexico, but that's as far as we're going to get right now. How close are we? Welcome. Corbin Butler, hello there. Aaron, welcome back. Are we going to get a high wind warning for West Central? I feel like you always lead the chats off with the high wind warning. Yes, Aaron, we are going to get the high wind warning. Sharon, hello there. Oh, it's raining in Fort Walton. That means our frontal system's probably getting close, or at least this first one. Brooke, hello there. Chris, welcome. April, what's going on? Kevin, thank you for joining us. Looks like Florida and South Florida could be wet for January. Oh, yes, definitely. D. Johnson, hello from Lecanto. Joey, hello, having an okay evening. We'll mostly get rain in Detroit. Yeah, with the second system, it's going to definitely be more of a rainmaker for a lot of the mid-Atlantic and the Northeast. I think the flood threat is something we really need to start looking into and start closely examining. And just to give you guys a little bit of perspective, for all the folks out there still hyping the snowfall and focusing only on the snowfall and talking snow this and snow that, snow, let it snow. Even Reed Timmer has posted and started lighting up his social media that he's bailing on the snow event, and he's going to be down here chasing the line of potential tornadoes that could be unfolding in the south and the southeast. So it goes to show some of our more reliable meteorological sources are highlighting the south as more of a sensible threat for some big weather players as opposed to the northeast. And I'm not discrediting what's going to happen in the northeast. There's just a lot of rigmarole flying around that it's still, it's frustrating me. I actually had a conversation with a patient I was talking to who's out of Illinois, and she was mentioning to me that what her main concern are the winds associated with this system that's going to go through. And I told her, you are a breath of fresh air, because everyone I've been listening to on all of my social media has been mentioning snow, and it's like, calm down. We know it's going to snow. We don't know how much just yet. It's going to be a close call. We'll see. But definitely going to be very windy, and the winds are going to be our number one prevalent threat driving what happens with the snow, because snow in of itself is not really that bad. If we're being honest, yes, it'll be impactful. It could cause some damage if it really does accumulate a whole lot, but it's not going to be that bad in of itself. It's what comes alongside the snow storms that typically produce all that heavier snowfall that become a conglomeration of very significant weather activity. Kevin, welcome in. Joey, hello there. Dawn, hello from Florida. Thank you very much for joining us. Leyland, is there going to be severe weather in Fort Lauderdale? Because that's what it shows on NATOcast. I do believe that is going to be the case. We're going to have severe weather across most of the Florida peninsula. We might not see severe weather, but we're going to have significant weather through the peninsula with that frontal line as it comes through. I see lots of live streams talk about big events like this, and then most of the stream would just be about the snow amounts, not the severe weather. Like, the snow ain't going to do anything like severe. It could. It definitely could. You know, for sure. It definitely could. Like, let me make sure I cover my own bases here on the channel. I don't want to start losing subscribers because it seems like I don't take snow serious. We do have warning criteria, and we do have winter storm warnings. We have heavy snow warnings. We have our freezing rain warnings. We have our ice storm warnings. We do have criteria, but in this case, it's much better to go in chronological order, just like I said this morning, and that system is going to start here in the south and really ramp up conditions for the central and southern plains, the southeast quadrant of the U.S., and then transition up the eastern seaboard and towards the Great Lakes, and that's when we can start to really worry about our heavy snow potential. And again, I'm still seeing conflicting reports on folks saying that the snow amounts are ramping up. But every time I check in with our model data, I don't see anything like that. So either I'm out to lunch and have no idea what I'm doing, or something's not right here, you know? So anyways, this is going to be our 12Z European model data, and the Euro has been very, very steadfast and very, very consistent in its depiction of this storm, although, if you guys notice, it does not anticipate it's going to get as strong as we were discussing earlier this morning. It still is going to deepen down to right at about 970 millibars potentially. Once again, we're seeing the famous wiggling and wobbling windshield wiper effect with our thunderstorms, with our low center of pressure, 972 now, as opposed to, I believe it was 967 this morning when we did our 9:30 a.m. briefing. But still, very, very rigorous frontal boundary. This is all going to be rainfall right in through here. This is all rain. All big-time rain and thunderstorm activity all through there. This is going to be your snow area. And as you can see, the snow area has definitely shrunk on this system. Big-time shrunk on this system. And that's the thing. You know, a lot of folks are still amping this up, and it does seem like the first nor'easter is going to be a little bit more impactful in terms of our winter and snowfall precipitation than this one is. This is going to be, I think, our heavy rainmaker, and the areas that do see a lot of snowfall over the northeast are really not going to have it around for long because of all this warm air surging to the north and how much rainfall we're going to get that could potentially wash it away, which could be a whole other hazard in of itself. And then this I thought was pretty interesting. If you fast forward just a little bit more, look at what happens next. Boom, another round, and everyone's getting freaked out about this now. Apparently this one's going to be historic too. You know, I guess so. I guess every storm is historic. Next time I go outside and I'm in 50-mile-an-hour winds, I'm going to pull out my phone. I'm going to go live on Instagram and be like, ladies and gentlemen, we are experiencing historic 50-mile-an-hour winds in the Haines City area. Now, you know, because that's kind of what it's turning into. We have this bad boy coming through, and then it does look like we're going to finally calm down for a little bit. This here, if it does hold true, which we've definitely seen this a few different times before, we've seen the models want to push a whole lot of cold air down to the south, and then, you know, nothing happens. It doesn't come down nearly as intensive. If you guys remember, when this first system right here was predicted to come down, we were seeing tremendous thickness lines coming across the northern tier United States. But in this case, it doesn't seem like that's going to be the case as much anymore. A lot of the more dense Arctic-style thickness values are going to stay up into the interior parts of Canada, western half of Canada. They could try to make a run for Montana, the Dakotas, parts of Minnesota, but that's going to be close, and it's associated with that very weak, unstable wave that's pushing in along the leading edge of that front or that high pressure right there. Very weak frontal system perturbation embedded along the leading edge between major systems. We have this guy out here with a triple point low forming up, warm, cold sector. We have another unstable wave forming over our traditional spot down here, frontal system. So this could possibly be either a northern branch of the jet or an Arctic branch of the jet kind of supported feature, because we have 485 value thickness right up in through there, and that's Arctic air for sure. A lot of folks are thinking that this is Arctic, and that's not Arctic. I really wish people would stop saying that terminology. And, you know, I was funny, too, because I was just telling a few folks, like, and I feel bad for saying this, but you can already tell that they don't know as much as they're trying to communicate when they're calling this setup and this setup Arctic. That's not Arctic. It's not Arctic. It has totally different characteristics. We're talking real sub-zero temperatures, very frigid air, very shallow air for that matter. If you're looking for the jet supporting it, you'd have to look down towards 500 millibars as opposed to 300 millibars, because that's how shallow it is. And I bet you 10 to 1 if we shoot on over to our 500 millibar winds, you'll see right up over northern Canada. And there you go. Look at that. What'd I say? Look at that. You'd think I've done this before. There's our little jet finger right there supporting that low down at the surface that I was just highlighting. Here's our polar front jet way down to the south. Here comes either the northern branch of the jet or potentially a very shallow Arctic jet supporting that other secondary feature, which is probably why it doesn't have a whole lot associated with it. That's another key determinant for finding out where your Arctic versus your polar systems are, is if you track it through and you don't really see a whole lot with it outside of snowfall, that means it's cold on one side and even colder on the other side. So it goes to show, if anything, I would say our Arctic air mass is up here. This is all polar air, and then we still have our maritime tropical air down there that we're tapping into over the Caribbean, the West Atlantic, maybe parts of the Gulf of Mexico before these fronts wash that air away. But that's how I would classify my air masses if I had to stamp them on one of my good old synoptic charts back in Air Force weather. But yeah, so there's the first one right there, and it does look like even on the Euro, we have seen a bit of the snowfield shrink with that system. The problem is we're going to have this Alberta Clipper system moving across the northern interior United States, right along the international border, helping to feed in a little bit of that wraparound snowfall lake effect. So that's kind of what could possibly be amping up our numbers, making it look like we're going to see a lot more snowfall. It's kind of a collision of two different systems. We have Northern Branch jet energy helping to feed these weak but moving or fast-moving Alberta Clipper systems. And then up over the northeast, we actually have our nor'easter driving snowfall over the northeastern states. And that frontal line is going to be draped all the way back down to the south. And a few of us have been talking and we've been investigating just how much cold air we're going to see with that frontal system through the southeast that could either help or hurt our chances at severe weather activity. And, you know, just looking over time, it doesn't seem like we're going to have too much cold air advection with it. And the advection chart does a good job showing that. If you guys look, this is 850 millibars, so we're looking at our upper fronts, as we call them. Good cold air push across the southeast, but not too much down over the south. And if you look at this thickness line or this thickness ribbon, we'll call it a theta E ridge or a thickness ridge in this case. There's your warmer air still trying to come up out of the south. Your cold air kind of stays up to the north of it. And I know I'm just kind of drawing pink lines at this point. I'll erase them in a second. And it's going to be with this next one that we see a lot more. See that? See how much preliminary warm air advection we already have priming our atmosphere? And you could see these lines right here. There's 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, 18. So we have a lot of really good temperature advection. And what that's showing is how much warming is going on, how much advection is occurring. And then the same thing with our cold advection. If you guys look, there's a lot of blue lines, blue shading stacked right up against one another with a very good southerly fetch of winds. And I do believe that's why our models are slowly but surely backing off on how much more snowfall we're going to get from this system. Because that's going to be a pretty substantial push of cold air, but we're also going to have a very, very good warm sector that is actually looking like breaching parts of Canada, going through James Bay into the Hudson Bay area. That's how far our upper warm front could possibly slide. We'll have to see exactly how that shakes out. And then we have the next system, boom, boom, bam, right there, looking just as crazy, just as menacing, coming across. And let's see, does the GFS have something else at 18Z? I haven't really taken a look. Yeah, look at that. The GFS has another system moving through. Dang, okay, if that actually does happen, that's gonna be real busy. Because there's the main event. There's number 2. There goes number 3. There goes number 4, numero 4. And then it says possibly another one. Now, this is 18Z, so don't take that as reality or anything cemented in, accuracy. That's why I still like to lean on our 0 and 12 Zulu forecasts, although it does look like GFS is thinking that we could see 2 more systems, because there's our main event right there. There's the first one. And then there goes our next little Alberta Clipper / potentially Arctic supported feature moving across the upper Great Lakes. Then we have this bad boy that could possibly give us another run for marginal severe weather, depending on how established it gets if it does come to fruition. And then we have another sucker coming across the Rocky Mountains, and that looks like it could be an Arctic push. We're into La La Land already, but that's a 1047 high with a very, very aggressive front range cold plunge occurring over the Rockies. And another system that's getting ready to brew up, a Texas-Oklahoma low right there. And as you take it through time, there goes another one right there. Whoosh, shooting through the pattern. So yeah, I mean, I don't know if that's actually what's going to happen. We'll have to see. Right now, of course, it's only the GFS we can go off of. But It goes without saying, that's going to be a pretty rigorous setup if that does end up shaking out the way that it does. Here's where we sit currently, or actually we'll start with the infrared satellite first. So this is where we are right now. We have already one very good system exploding up. The cold pocket has been officially disconnected from the jet. We now have a Type A comma setup. You can see the jet shooting through. We have a new baroclinic leaf set up right in through here. That's going to be our nor'easter system. This is, I was almost going to say Tropical Storm Ember. That is Winter Storm Ember in the making. Dang, I almost said Tropical Storm. That would have been funny. That's Tropical Storm Ember forming up over the Gulf Coast. But there's our cold pocket. Cold pocket has been ripped apart. You can see the jet shooting through it, right up and through there. This is what brought some good snowfall to the Central Plains and the Four Corners. They have another weak perturbation moving through right there. Not a whole lot that's going to come with it. And then just back behind that is where a lot of our substantial weather activity is going to come with potential next winter storm X, Y, or Z that's going to pop off. So we'll see what happens. Let me see. I know the chat is kind of going right now, and I've been just briefing, not really paying too much attention to it. Do you guys watch Ryan Hall, y'all? Every now and again, I'll pop into it, but today I had one big gripe with his title. And if you guys are fans, then you could light me up and roast me all you want, but I thought it was kind of hilarious, the title of his video today. The strongest storms of the year are about to hit. And I'm thinking to myself, you do realize we still have 360 days left of 2024, right? Had you made this video in 2023, okay, I'd let you off the hook. But the fact that it's only January 5th, and we're already using slogans like the strongest storms of the year. It's like, well, I mean, technically you're not wrong, but at the same time, we still got a lot of year to go for us to determine if these are going to be the strongest ones. You know what I'm saying? You know, but like, anyways, that's just me being picky. This is not Arctic front. Florida will be freezing. Nope, exactly. New York City may get isolated snow flurries. Expect less than 3 inches. Yeah, I definitely get it. It's Antarctic. Yuck, yuck, yuck. Anti-snow drought will continue for D.C. to New York City Super Metro. I used to watch Ryan Hall and ponder, but not much anymore. Is it supposed to snow here tonight, tomorrow, and Sunday here in Indiana? I believe so. Definitely believe so. We used to live in Boston, and I have seen snow and been through 2 blizzards, but my sister was little, so she didn't get to see snow. That's why she's in New York for the weekend. Oh, okay. Nomad Cat 4, you're only a little late. You're only a little late. I just like the thumbnails with all the here we go, watch this, all I read that comment supercharged and I can't help but crack up because I know exactly which ones you're talking about with the giant arrows. Here we go, watch this, incoming. You know, it's funny, but you know, you mean since Winter Storm? Oh yeah, this is Winter Storm Vince. We have Vince forming up again. That title was just clickbait. I hope y'all had a fantastic evening. I've had a decent day. It's been a very busy day. It's been a very, very busy day. Matt F150, welcome in. Welcome in. It's been a while since seeing you in the chat. Thank you very much for joining us tonight. Brooke Ward, this has been a busy, long week. Just popped in to let you know I'm so here. ADHD still following you. Things have just been busy. Good night. Oh, I do appreciate you still popping in and out as you can. I definitely sincerely appreciate that for sure. I know life gets very busy. We are at the start of the new year, so things are going to be very crazy for all of us. It's been, a lot of us at work were actually saying this was like the longest short week ever. Like this has been a very busy week because during an El Nino, the strongest storms of the winter do happen during January. I think so. Oh, well. Well, you know, even then though, no, sorry, you're not going to pull that one over me. Technically, you're going technicality now. During an El Nino, the strongest storms of the year do happen in the winter, but at the same time, no. Sorry, nope, moving on. What's your opinion on Weatherman Plus? I'm not going to go into describing YouTube channels. I've definitely watched a number of his videos as well. I do like what he puts out, although definitely some of his titles are very intense. There's a lot of, YouTube videos out there that just go off the chain. Like, a lot of the times, too, they put a lot of good information into the video, but they just really clickbait the titles and the thumbnails, and I gotta respect it, depending on who you are. Some folks, they have to put some clickbaity stuff in the thumbnail, because if not, people aren't gonna click. And, I got to respect the grind. Every now and again, you got to pepper in, you got to salt bay up a little bit of this sensationalism. If not, people are going to look in another direction because they want to see explosions and nuclear whatever and zombies. They don't want to see maybe a little bit of this and maybe a little bit of that. Now, some people do thrive off of, cataclysm and catastrophe. Mark Sudduth and Mitch Westweather be better because they don't underestimate the weather, overestimate the. Yeah, they're straightforward. Exactly, April. Definitely agree. But all right. Anyways, back to it, as Negan would say for my Walking Dead fans out there. Where are we at? Okay, so here we go. This is going to be our simulated reflectivity for what's coming at us over the next couple of days. There's our nice frontal band, and this is what I do think we're going to have to seriously worry about when the next system comes through. Not right now. I'm not saying right now, but if you look, this is exactly the type of setup I think we're going to have with that next frontal system as it moves towards Florida, and this is where a lot of our rotating storms are going to be, right up in this squall line, right on the leading edge of the cold push. Might not see too much severe weather the further north you go. I do think this is going to be an over-the-water event. I think I got to change the batteries in this mouse here very soon. What's also very concerning is look at how much freezing precip the HRRR is calling for in North Carolina and into parts of Virginia. It looks like right in through here, all that purple shading. That's not good. That's a lot of freezing precip. Freezing precip, maybe a couple of little weak indications of some ice pellets going on up there. So that's going to be mixed winter event right up in through there. We're in the stable layer of the system back up in this direction. This looks like it could try to go severe, but I don't think it will. Up to the north here, that's probably not going to be severe. And then there you go, right at the very back end. I know you can't really see it on here, unfortunately. It's the next model, that's HRRR. If you come here to the 3-kilometer NAM and you see the frontal band going through the first one, and see, that's what I'm concerned about, is as the frontal system goes through, which is why we're going to posture up here first for our storm chase on Tuesday. We're going to posture up there first, because notice how that frontal line is just igniting storms and driving it right into that jutting out of the Florida Panhandle just to the southwest of Tallahassee. And then if you make believe that this is our main event, I don't think we're going to see the frontal boundary dissipate like it does here. I think we are actually going to see it translate across the state of Florida. So that's going to be very interesting to see unfold. And then right at the very tail end, there you go, right at the very tail end of this loop, you start to see that return flow begin to kick up over the Gulf. That's like the precursor to the warm sector that's going to be coming up and out. And then whatchamacallit, that's what's going to help to prime the environment. That's our priming effect. So honestly, we do want to watch that. For folks who are a little unaware of how to do some synoptic and mesoscale analysis, we want to watch exactly how our showers kick off as we roll through late Sunday and into early morning Monday. So if we wake up in the morning on Monday and we get ready to start the day and we see a bunch of showers, just showers, nothing else, just some light rain, shower activity surging up out of the Gulf of Mexico, we know for certain it's game time, because that means our warm conveyor is starting up. And the more that we can get further to the north, the higher our instability and our buoyancy is going to be. And we don't even have to pay attention to the models at that point. We can just kind of make a determination based off of what we're seeing on satellite and radar. You'll be able to see that warm front with as strong of a system as we're expecting, and with these more, potent baroclinic systems before they go barotropic, you'll be able to see that warm sector form up on satellite and on radar. And kind of like this, basically. If you start seeing stuff like this, a fanning out, that deformation zone kind of stuff, that's when you know you're getting more of that warm advection and it's surging up to the north. Kind of like what's happening down there. As a matter of fact, let's go ahead and zoom into the Gulf of Mexico. I'm pretty sure we can get a satellite image for the Gulf and we can see it. Let's see. Go to Atlantic, Gulf of Mexico. And then I'll slow the loop down because this is flying by. Let me slow the loop down. So you see this? You guys see all that low-level cloud cover, some of that closed cell stratocumulus, a little bit of the very low cloud stratus along the leading edge of the front getting pulled to the north. That's what we want to see. I mean, for us who like severe weather, that's what we want to see. If we see more of that, that means we're in good cahoots with Mother Nature to see some stuff fire off. If we don't see too much of that, or we don't see a fast-moving southerly fetch of wind down in the low levels, we could see it on a radar as well. You'll get I think it is a forward or a regular facing S for warm air advection on your radar imagery on base velocity. That'll show warm air advection, and the more that happens, that's when we're really going to start instigating that temperature discontinuity, bringing up the dew points, creating that dry line effect, and that's why there were some pretty good severe thunderstorms that ignited as that system moved off the coast. Watch. So you can see our subtropical jet. That's also our delineation between our modified tropical air and then the modified polar air to the north, and then notice how as you take the loop through, you can see all that convergent flow. If I were to streamline this, look at all that convergent flow right there. That's what I was talking about to you guys this morning. The differences in density and mass in the air is what's going to help to suck things in towards the low. So there's your warm conveyor, and notice how as soon as that punch of cold air moves off the coast, let me move my arrows out of the way. We'll fast forward, fast forward, fast forward, and then here we go. Here comes that air mass interaction. Boom, immediately. Look at how it fires up. You can see a clear delineation of where your line is, or your frontal line is. Cold, dry air, your warm, moist air moving up, and there's your convergence zone. Perfect line. And we'll definitely see something like that, like clockwork, as we get into Monday and then eventually Tuesday when the main event bench, quench your thirst begins. If Gulf doesn't advect, we could get nasty. If Gulf doesn't advect, we could get nasty storms, squall. What do you mean, PM? Is this system coming through Tuesday, Iguana? For us in Florida, depending on where you live, yes. What do you mean, wrong date? For the reflectivity, yeah, we're talking about Saturday. That's going to be happening on Saturday, at least the base reflectivity. One Nation weather, I love your videos. Oh, is One Nation in here? Oh, yeah, there you are right there. I'm watching closely from South Carolina, hoping for some interesting storms here. Depends on where you are in South Carolina. Thank you for joining us, by the way. It definitely looks like South Carolina has more of a threat than North Carolina. I thought it was a little ambitious on SPC's part for extending the threat into, into North Carolina. I think we might be a little too modified in terms of our air mass up there. We'll have to see exactly what lapse rates and temperature profiles look like once we get a little closer to the main event. It was cold this morning, which is why I'm not sure if there will be severe weather tomorrow. Oh, no, not tomorrow. No. I'm not thinking there's going to be much severe weather. We might see some thunderstorms, but I don't think we're going to see anything crazy in terms of severe weather down here. We might see a stray storm with some stronger winds associated with it because we do have some dry air down there, and that's going to help with our decape values. That's going to help to boost how much wind we get from the down rushes when these storms collapse. So I think, if anything, tomorrow, if we do see any kind of severe thunderstorms, it's mainly going to be in way of severe winds for tomorrow, for the Florida Peninsula and through the Panhandle. We could see some severe winds with these systems. I don't think we're going to get a whole lot of rotation. There's just not enough buoyancy and instability out there, and like you've mentioned, there's still some cooler air down there. We're definitely starting to feel the warm advection, though, because I noticed earlier this morning it was cold, and even as the sun has set tonight, you can walk out there, and this is exactly what I'd gone out in just a little while ago after I clocked out of work before the live stream, and you could tell it's a little bit warmer, just a little bit more humidity in the air, so we're starting to see that warm conveyor, that warm belt form up over Florida right now. If the storm for Detroit trends colder, will we get more snow instead of rain? Yes, technically speaking. We'll just have to look closely at where our rain-snow line establishes itself and just how much moisture we get, because that warm sector of this next system is going to be very robust. It's going to punch up towards the north very quickly. Do you think South Florida could see some severe weather either tomorrow or the next event? Next event, possibly. This event, I don't really think so. I mean, we could maybe see more of a greater isolated threat for some lightning and higher winds down there. Just looking at the way our simulated reflectivity kind of, once again, rips the front and kind of pushes a little bit of lingering thunderstorm activity towards the south and then parks it there. You can see the warm front goes stationary, and there's our stationary front. That's a stationary front right in through here. You have winds moving this way at this point, and you have winds off the Atlantic moving that way. So that's just a line of temperature discontinuity. We could technically get a little bit of a stable wave on this, but that's not going to be the case here. We don't have the energy in the upper levels to stir the air, literally, for all intents. So that's why we're going to see this tail begin to slowly move north. And again, we can watch this all on satellite. You know, we could skip looking at a lot of our model data and just simply watch the fireworks unfold step by step. So as soon as we see that lingering tail down in the low levels, you'll want to use a visible satellite shot for sure. Once you start to see it arc up and literally just bow up and get sucked in over the United States or the Southeast, that's when you know that the warm air has turned on and we're starting to see that funneling effect. So this is where we sit right now. And in fact, I do believe, based on the layout of our atmosphere right now, this is it. This is the one right there. That's our system. That's going to be the big boy, the big kahuna, the big tamale, as they say in Independence Day, for my OG Independence Day fans out there. This is going to be a weak shortwave that's bringing a little bit of additional snowfall to the higher terrain of the Four Corners in the desert Southwest. This is Winter Storm Ember, Tropical Storm Vince. Just kidding. I got to throw a little bit of a sneak diss in there. Honestly, you know, this hurricane season is wild. This hurricane season is going to be crazy. You know what, guys? I'm going to move this down a little bit. I'm getting a little annoyed of seeing this in my face on the camera. I wanted to do a video today. I really did. I actually sat down instead of doing a very, very short segment. I wanted to make it maybe 5 to 7, 10 minutes most, discussing probabilities for our next hurricane season, because I do think, despite all the rigmarole out there of folks talking snow and everyone's house is going to cave in from avalanches, I wanted to raise a little bit more awareness, because that Climo model today is very scary. I'm going to throw a little bit of hyperbole in there. I'm going to pepper you guys with some hype because it is Friday. That's very concerning. I blasted that out to a lot of my friends and family. I'm like, hey, look, this is definitely something we need to watch, like a night and day difference. Let me see if I can email myself the comparison for you guys. So I did a comparison and I sent it to a bunch of my friends, family members. I'm going to email the picture to myself real quick, and then I'll pull it up on the big screen so you guys can see it. Just so that way I don't have to go flipping back and forth from different charts. So while this water vapor satellite is looping, I'm going to pull up my Gmail on the other side of the screen here, and I'll pull up the picture for you guys to see. All right, let me move this to the desktop. Copy and replace. There it is. Let's open it up. And there you go. Let me zoom in on it a little bit. Let me clear the ink. And I know for those of you watching for the winter storm, I do apologize. We're going to go back into tropics for a second. But look at that night and day difference. Huge difference. And that's not even a little bit. That's not hype. That's not anything. You can't anywhere at all, anywhere on the planet. I challenge anyone who watches this live stream after we end it to say, you're hyping. That's not even that bad. Like, what? I could give this to, a 4-year-old, and they're going to say, wow, look at all that rain. Like, I even sent it to one of my coworkers earlier, and I said, spot the difference. And she goes, oh, gosh, that's a huge storm in 2024. And I'm like, yeah, that could be multiple big storms. Like, look at this 2023 depiction. And by the way, this was initialized January 1st of 23. This is our data on January 1st, 2024. So what I did was I didn't take a model and kind of pull up a compare and contrast here of, something that looked a little bit more scary. No, I went as unbiased as possible, and I said, let's see what the CanSIPs thought of peak hurricane season last January, and let's take a look at what the CanSIPs is thinking for this January, just so that way we can get as unbiased of a picture as possible. Huge difference. And, obviously this isn't going to be 110% what exactly pans out. There's going to be doubts. There's going to be arguments. There's going to be debates. There's going to be other variables. But the key takeaway, once again, guys, that I'm trying to communicate to whoever it is that I'm talking to, whether it be the live stream, to folks out there on social media, this is not good. That's not good. Because even this far away, if our models are sniffing towards an explosive August and September and hot waters, Like the writing's on the wall. We can explore the specifics and landfalls and intensity later on, but right now we know El Nino is going to crash and burn. We know that. It's if all of our models bust, like every single model for that matter on the planet busts, we have a bigger problem. So we know El Nino is going to crash and burn. And we already know through exploring some of the research topics that we've pulled up on these live streams in the past that an Enso neutral to an Enso cold, which would be a La Nina, is very bad and very favorable for hurricane season and for hurricane development. Yes, actually, you know what, Mick and Marley, this is one time I will say this is kind of like a historical difference. And it could be a historical difference if we do see those water temps really ramp back up like they did this year, if not even just a very fraction or a margin hotter. And, look at that. This is pretty much what we saw in August of last year. We saw Idalia come up through here, and if you notice, the green is almost very well in line with where Franklin went this hurricane season. And we did see a number of storms form up out here in August and kind of just do their own thing out in the Atlantic. And look at the difference here, how much more rain, how much more moisture is pumped into the MDR, the Caribbean, the Gulf. We could see some very bad storms on our Gulf Coast. We could see some very bad storms blasting through the Antilles, through Central America, through some of our Caribbean islands like Jamaica, Cayman Islands, who remained unscathed for the most part outside of the big rainmakers. That's not good. And looking at our temperature anomalies, I don't have a comparison of that, but it looks like our hottest temperatures are going to be right down here. And research has proven through climatology and record keeping that most of our neutral Enso formation tends to happen right there. So it's kind of really, if you put everything together into the big jigsaw puzzle that we're kind of explaining here, it does look like it could be a bad season. It really does. At least right now. Obviously we have lots of time to get ahead of this. But where we stand right now, just slowly putting puzzle pieces together, this could be definitely something that we need to watch. And as we get closer, I'm going to start urging folks who still watch this channel, because I know I got a lot of viewers during last hurricane season from the Caribbean. I definitely want to start putting out emphasis that you guys need to have at least some sort of little secondary, something you can glance at to just double check. If something does come my way, am I ready for this? And that's it. That's as preemptive. That's how hype-ish I'm going to get. That's as much I'm going to let come out of this channel until things do get real and we see real stuff unfolding. It's just based on the trends. It would be smart, it would behoove you, as they like to say, to at least have something in place to where if it comes down to prep, are you going to be ready? Is prep going to be that crazy? Or are you, completely SOL and you're going to be scrambling at the last second? But that's enough of the tropics. I just thought this was like a crazy night and day difference. Huge difference. So we definitely have to watch. We could see a totally different style hurricane season. Totally different style hurricane season as we get into 2024 and an early arrival of the hurricane season as well. But alrighty, folks, let's go ahead and start digging into some more of the nitty-gritty. We're going to go over to pivotal weather because pivotal weather actually has a couple of the parameters that I want to explore a little bit more closer up for the southeast, and then we'll move back up towards the northeast. It's 8:37, so we have about 20-ish or so minutes left of the stream, so we're going to try to blast through this without going on long-winded rants. This is 18 Zulu data. Let's go ahead and take a quick glance at what our 18 Zulu model data looks like. So surface-based CAPE, we're going to explore the surface-based CAPE. I don't think surface-based CAPE is going to be very, very impressive. First system, this kind of makes sense. Looking at maybe a little bit of, surface-based CAPE. Matt, to answer your question, it does seem like there's a little bit more CAPE, seeing some enhancement along the Gulf Stream. Could see another reignition of thunderstorms along that frontal line as it moves across and kind of interacts with that water, that temperature gradient induced by the water out there. But nothing too phenomenal. Next system, though, however, you can definitely see that warm sector is going to establish itself. But like I was saying, because we have such a modified air mass, we're not going to, it isn't going to be a night and day difference to where during the springtime, for example, you have warm 70, 80 degree temperature over the southeast and 40s coming in from the northwest. That's not the case here. We've had front after front after front come through, so we're going to have some modified polar air out there still washing away, and it'll be predominantly in the low levels. We might have really good warm air aloft, but as we know, warm air above does not really do much for our instability when it comes to the surface and what's happening above ground level. So not a whole lot of promise in the surface features. Let's go forward in time and see what that next one looks like. Okay, a little bit of a weaker threat with that next system that's being predicted. We could possibly see some highlighting from SPC over the Gulf Coast, pretty similar to what we have right now, just looking at this. If we go to, don't we have ML Cape on here? It doesn't look like we do. Oh well. Let's go to our EHI. EHI is also what we've been looking at for the last couple of days. Let's see what the 18 Zulu was thinking. So EHI doesn't look very impressive at all for Florida with this first system. I mean, granted, it's there. It's definitely there, so we can't discount it at all together. There's definitely some values out there, just albeit very weak, very marginal, low-end threshold. Then the next one, let's see. EHI is looking pretty decent. Still, that's still our target area right there. The tail end of it is going to breach Panama City, Tyndall Air Force Base, Apalachicola. So that's our target area, folks. That's where we're headed. That's where we're going to set up. And I think Team Dominator, Reed Timmer, and his folks are going to be starting out here somewhere and then just chasing through. Because he mentioned starting off along the Gulf Coast and then moving possibly into North Carolina. So we'll have to see exactly what kind of travels he goes through. He'll probably stay along the coast as well. We'll see. Maybe the Weather Center will actually run into Team Dominator. Who knows? Who knows? It's going to be a crazy year, so at this point, anything is possible. And then this is what I thought was pretty interesting that we'll want to watch for is my area in Polk County, parts of, I think this is Marion. No, I think that's Sumter County, Orange and Osceola County, Brevard County. They actually do see a bit of an increase in EHI values, energy helicity. And that's been on the models pretty consistently as well. It was there at 12 Zulu. 12 Zulu, I think, looked a little bit more impressive than that, as a matter of fact. And I trust 12Z a little bit more than 18Z because 12Z is a fresh, hot model run with some good analysis data in there. Yeah, see, a little bit more EHI in the peninsula of Florida, so that's very interesting. That does tell me that the front could possibly hold together, unlike what we're expecting to see here and what we saw with the last system that rolled through around New Year's. Or no, Christmas, excuse me. We saw a little bit of a break in half of our frontal boundary. I own the Daniel Butler YouTube account, also Corbin Butler. Okay, so we have, by the way, on the Daniel Butler YouTube account. So who are you then? Because I've seen Corbin pop in, and I've seen Daniel pop in. I'm the kid with cancer, and I'm doing well. You probably not believe that I'm Daniel Butler, but I own that YouTube account. Well, that's good to know. I'm glad. The CMC literally has no cape. Yeah, I don't know why. April, that's actually very easy to answer for you, why the cape is higher over water than over land, because water is actually going to be a much better insulator of heat. It dissipates and it retains heat much slower. Whereas the land, with diurnal trends being, daytime, nighttime, etc., when a front comes through, the land is going to cool, it's going to warm faster. So that's why down at the surface level, especially if we have clouds, if we have cold rain falling, if we have a front moving through, you'll typically see the ground either warm up or it'll cool down much faster, and that's why the buoyancy will spike and then drop immediately or cap off. Whereas over the water, if you look, this EHI tool does a great job of showing us, if you notice, as that area of buoyancy and shear rotation moves through, notice how it dies off over land ever so slightly, but then it fires up as soon as it interacts that Gulf Stream current, because you got hot water here with that unstable layer moving across. See how it kind of goes stationary? If you track it through, there's our front, and our front moves in and pulls that warm air to the north, and the water helps to enhance it. But that's very interesting that the model is highlighting we could possibly break through and see a little bit of daytime heating enhance the instability and the helicity over Central Florida. Because look at the time. This is 18Z. That's max heating of the day. 18Z Eastern Standard Time is going to be about the 2 o'clock time frame, 1 or 2 o'clock time frame. So that would be considered max daytime heating, even though obviously we know it's winter time. Max heating is not going to be no 100-degree weather, but nonetheless. And it's funny, too. I felt pretty proud of myself doing this earlier. I haven't really seen any other weather source on YouTube do it just yet. But one thing I've been looking at very heavily is going to be the GFS forecasted cloud cover. I'm looking at that pretty heavily. Average cloud cover, because this is going to let us know exactly how much daytime heating we're going to be able to see next week as this system comes through. And so far, it doesn't look all that impressive. It looks like every now and again we might see some breaks in the clouds, but nothing, that will allow tremendous daytime heating or mixing to go through. So we're probably not going to have to lean on our surface-based CAPE as much. We're going to have to look at lifted index. We're going to have to look at mixing layer CAPE, most unstable CAPE. We'll have to look above to see exactly what's helping to enhance our lift. We'll have to track the advection of the cold air back behind the front, how much dry air intrusion we get in there. Because if you look at the precipitable water, you can see that we do have a very good change between our warm, moist air, warm being relative, and then our cool, cold, in this case, dry air. You can see precipitable water values drop significantly, and I do believe we have a humidity or a theta E on here. Here we go. Relative humidity is what we'll look at first. You can see a big difference. Very good relative humidity values right over the Florida Peninsula, surging into the southeast, almost up to 100% humidity, as a matter of fact, very reminiscent of our Florida summer times. And then back behind it, the further west you go, the more that dew point and that relative humidity drop off. The theta E does an even more outstanding job of showing this. You can see it, and there's actually a very good line of confluence right there. There's your front. You can see it 3,000 miles away. There's all of our nasty, warm, unstable air coming up with some pretty good theta E values for that matter. We're actually starting to see some of the pinks and purples down there off the southern periphery of the chart, seeing a little bit of enhancement along the Gulf Stream. Once again, doing a fantastic job of picking that up. That's good model resolution for you. And then look at all this cool, dry air, the rapid dissipation of our theta values as you go back into the cold sector of the jet, the cold sector of the front. See what the wet bulb temp looks like. See if we could get any hail out of this. No, not really any hail. It's either too warm and then it gets too cold too fast. So I don't think we'll see any hail. And then let's go to our 700 millibar winds. See if those have trended. Woo! Never mind. Nope, those have definitely not trended down at all. That's still looking pretty gnarly. Really good 700 millibar winds. So that's another thing, too, is when it's raining, you're going to get a lot of this to come down to the surface. You're going to have gusty winds, regardless of if it's convective or non-convective. I remember tracking it even at 2 a.m. I was up all night, knew bad storms would happen. Central Alabama looks to have a little cape, but not much. No, not Central Alabama. Honestly, it looks like our most unstable air, most instability is going to be a coastal event, waterspout event, like so. And believe it or not, I do think we might get a little more action into west central Florida than a lot of people are thinking. And then right up along the coastline into Georgia, parts of South Carolina. And I'm, again, very curious to know why SPC went all the way up to North Carolina. Do I disagree with them? Not necessarily, but I just think they're a little ambitious. I do think they're just a little ambitious in doing that. So this is also what we're going to want to watch for is upward vertical motion in the form of shortwave vorticity. This is 500 millibars. If we drop down a little bit, we might see a little bit more so. Let's see what 700 millibar vertical velocities look like, how much lift. Woo! Yep. So there you go. There's a lot of lift in the atmosphere. A lot of lift. Good lift. That's what we want to see. Well, I mean, if you like severe weather and you're a chaser and you're an enthusiast, that's what we want to see. We don't necessarily want to see it for severe weather, but there's a lot of lift out there. So, yeah. Supercell composite. The Supercell composite at 12 Zulu was looking very impressive for Florida. Oh, yeah, there you go. It's still translating through. So, yeah, see, again, same general area. Supercell composite is lighting up for Central Florida. And then there's our target area getting grazed by the higher supercell parameters. And yep, see, I mean, I can kind of get why SPC has them highlighted, because even the supercell parameter extends a little bit into North Carolina, but I think that's just the model broad brushing it at that point because of the dynamics and what these parameters highlight. You have certain key tools or ingredients for supercellular activity, thunderstorms that could go severe, very robust updrafts and tilt, rotation, but I don't think we're going to have everything come together to show that. I'm really thinking my main concerns are going to be along the coastline for sure, along the coast and then right up like that. That's where I would draw my my severe weather threat, and I would probably chop it right there. That would be my 15%. I wouldn't go all the way into North Carolina. We shall see. Still a few days away. That could definitely change. We could see a little bit more of a surge of our warm conveyor up there and get a little more buoyancy up there, flush out that modified polar air along the mid-Atlantic coast, but that would be my 15%. This area is what I would shade if I was an SPC analyst, right there. So I'm long nat gas, so I can't see the rest of your comment, Jonathan. Superchara's woe indeed. Hail does happen. It actually hailed not that long ago. Not talking about during that system that moved through when we were in the chase, but I remember seeing some very small hail that hit. I forget where it was. I don't remember where I was, but I do remember not too long ago we saw some hail in Central Florida. To get actual bona fide hail storms, that's a stretch. We're usually too warm during the summertime. You need a lot of cape to get those hailstones to circulate up at the top of your cumulonimbus before coming back down. That's typically not what happens here. And we don't ever get that dry air entrainment in the mid to upper levels to help with those hailstones to cycle through and collect and become multi-layer. I think the SPC National Weather Service, going by how strong the potential storm system for late this weekend and early next week could be for late this weekend and early next week. April, I'm having a little hard time understanding your comment. I think the SPC, going by how strong the potential storm system for late this weekend and early next week could be for the late this weekend and early next week. You break that down a little bit. Break that down a little bit. My grandpa lives in Tampa Bay, Florida. Should he be worried for severe weather? Not worried, but just vigilant, guys. And that's another thing that's starting to get on my nerves, too, if I can be honest with you. When it comes to social media, the talk, Instagram, and all that, folks out here saying I'm trying to worry people. And it's like, no. If you're worried, there's a reason. But what I'm trying to do is just tell you to be vigilant, maintain your situational awareness, and there's no reason to be worried. Just be on the lookout. Watch your six, as they like to say in the military and in the law enforcement field. That's all we're doing, is we're watching you guys as six. That's what we're here for. If you do feel the desire to worry, then I urge you not to, because you shorten your lifespan and you get really bad, as we know, canker sores when you stress out. But in this case, don't fret. Let's just try to stay ahead of it. Let's work to kind of nail down exactly what to anticipate, and we're going to get you through this, just like I always say on this weather channel. That's the name of the game. We just got to get you through it. Storm relative helicity does look pretty good for Florida. Look at that. This is going to be a 0 to 3 kilometer storm relative helicity. Just how much rotation we can get out of the storms, nothing else. Everything else off the table. So, I can see why Reed Timmer is thinking that we could really see a good tornado outbreak down here. Here's the mean layer cape. Let's see what the mean layer cape looks like for 18Z. Oh, yeah, look at that. Nice surge into Central Florida, too, pushing 1,000 joules per kilogram. We could possibly finally see some waterspout activity right out there near the Tampa Bay area, for sure. Look at that. 1,000 joules per kilogram of ML cape. And I do believe ML Cape is going to be the one that we want to pay close attention to alongside the key takeaway from our last storm chase. We got to look at our entire profile before we make a judgment call on this. We're not going off of just these larger scale models. Before I roll out on Tuesday, I'm going to really heavily scrutinize what I see in my SKU-Ts and what our analysis data looks like the night before. Because what our analysis data shows us 12 to 18 hours before this comes through is going to kind of give us a way to draw a conclusion of what to expect. So, this is looking good, but we do want to take in other parameters before this actually happens. So we shall see. We shall definitely see. Here's our GEFS ensembles. This is for, this is for the main event. Let's see, mean supercell composite. Oh yeah, look at that. There you go. Even our ensemble is thinking that that's where, whoops, I'm drawing the wrong color right now. I'm going to use black on this one. There, even our, definitely meant to click black. Come on, Epic Pen. There we go. Even the GFS ensemble is thinking that's going to be our target area. You know, this might be the one, guys. This might be the one. We possibly might finally chase down a water spout. We're going to see. We're going to definitely see. The timing is going to have to be right, and I'm a little nervous about that. I got to make sure I plan my route accordingly because that's going to be a heck of a drive. It was about 3 hours south towards Venice Beach. This is going to be about 6.5 hour drive. I want to get right up into that. I want to drive right in and see what we find coming on the coast or just offshore. Honestly, you know how beautiful that would be? Because the front is moving to the east. If we could find that one rotating storm that drops maybe a very short-lived weak tornado or a waterspout, and you could just follow it along the coast, man, that to me would be a dream come true. Because I have yet to see an actual tornado. I've seen funnel clouds. But that's it. I have not seen an actual tornado. And I'll never forget the first time I saw a funnel cloud. I even called it just before National Weather Service put the warning out. I was like, that's a funnel cloud, Mom. I know it for sure. And then there you go. National Weather Service put an alert out for Orange County. This was way back in like 2003 or something like that, maybe even before that. Here's our European model data. The Euro is looking very, very aggressive with its thunderstorms. And there you have it. See, the Euro thinks we're going to have a very, very well-defined squall line moving through Florida. That right there, I'm not going to say it. I'm not going to say that's worrisome, but this is definitely something we need to interrogate. Definitely something we need to interrogate because that is going to be much more defined than we've seen come through since maybe October. If you guys remember the October tornado event here in north central Florida. We have not seen anything that robust in the last few months. So this is definitely something we need to pay closer attention to. Even the Euro is thinking we could have some very, very sharp theta E contrast, which is just different in air mass. Very sharp delineation between our buoyant air and our not so buoyant air, our very dense air. So right in through here, there's going to be a very, very good looking squall line, and I'm very curious to see what our simulated reflectivity models look like. Very curious, very excited. Okay, let's go ahead before we wrap up the live stream. Let's go up to the north and let's start looking at a little bit of snowfall before we finish up. So this is for the mid-Atlantic states. Oh, I don't like this one. I wanted to see total snow accumulation, but I guess this kind of works. Yeah, so I mean, still in line with what everyone's predicting. First storm is going to give an average of about maybe 5 to 8 inches in some areas of the Northeast, with the highest max expected approaching that foot threshold for some. Let's go over to Tropical Tidbits and take a look at it. I like their snow charts a little bit better. We'll start off with the GFS, and we'll go to the 24-hour snowfall. That's another thing I'm getting tired of, too, is folks are advertising and promoting on their channels this much snowfall, but what they're not telling everyone is in total for X amount of hours. They're kind of making it seem like this storm is going to drop 75 feet of snow, and that's not right. You know, anybody and their mother in a snow-prone area is going to see 2 to 3 feet of snow if you have storm after storm after storm after storm after storm after storm go through. It's going to accumulate eventually. But if you look at just the GFS for the first storm system, we have a very small corridor of where we're going to see some very heavy snowfall. And most of it is going to start falling over the more higher terrain features of the very northern extent of the Appalachians before we finally see our nor'easter effect kick in, and it's going to be confined to this general area. So a lot of it's going to be very, very high terrain, heavy snowfall, which makes sense, but a lot of the lower lying areas, as you can see, are going to get that classic 1 to 3, maybe 4 inches of snow, which is from what I hear from actual Weather Service reports and charts I've been seeing rolling out. That's the general consensus a lot of our local news stations are mentioning. Which address message? Uh-oh. What do you mean? Oh, yeah, I agree, Milagros. Believe in God, and He is perfect. April, you need 1,500 joules or just above 1,000 for big tornado outbreaks. Yep, exactly. How close are we? I've seen countless funnel clouds, but I've always wanted to see a tornado. Noah, I'm right there with you. I live in Tallahassee. Can you stop by my house and say hi to me? My location is 3204 Shimmy Lane. Actually, I would agree. You might want to delete that message. Somebody should definitely moderate that out. That's kind of not good. Have a good night, Corbin/Daniel. But you also need other thermodynamics to be high in value. If you don't have much convective available potential energy like wind shear, yeah, you need a whole lot of other parameters that come together. You just had me cracking up when you said 75 feet of snow. That's hilarious. Yeah, the 75 feet of snow. So there's your first one. This is the 24, and that's why I like using these charts. I like to advertise these charts because they show you what a storm event's going to look like. Because you see, with the first one, it looks like the most snow that the model is going for is 14 inches, just above a foot in that one small county in New York State, and that's it. Then you scroll through, we get that first storm out, and then you look, the next storm system, the big one, is not going to drop a whole lot of snow for the Northeast. Not going to drop very much at all. This is definitely more higher terrain snow right in through here. We're not going to see very much snow accumulation in the lower levels. And then the next one after that is going to be the one that we really need to watch. And even then, we're not seeing as impressive of values forecasted this far out than what we are with Winter Storm Ember. If we switch over to the Midwest, we'll also take a look at that too, because there are some indications we could see a little bit more snowfall with the second system out there. Now, even these have kind of trended down a little bit. Yeah, even this has trended down a little bit. So, everyone's freaking out, but I wonder if if that's going to be really good confluent flow and wraparound snow that's going to drop that very strong corridor snowfall right there. But again, I've been seeing a lot of folks amping up just what we're going to see through here. And if you take a grand consensus, like, yes, you're going to get some good snow right through here, but again, general takeaway, 1 to 3 inches, maybe some 4 or 5 inches in very localized instances, but, not that crazy. The big thing we want to watch out for is going to be the winds. And right now, the winds are looking a little dicey. Right around where that snowfall is going to move through, we're sitting right in between the 20 knot and 28 knot threshold. And that's sustained winds. Those are not gusts. So we'll definitely have to watch the gust parameters as well. That's what's really going to determine how hellacious of an event this could be. It's not going to be the snowfall in particular. It's going to be the other dynamics that are associated with it. And I think the reason why we're not seeing as strong of winds is, once again, surprisingly, the GFS is on the weaker side with this system. It wants to keep it right at about 980 millibars. I'm not going to count 979. I'm just going to round up and say 980 millibars. Whereas the Euro, I do believe, is the one that's actually being just a little bit more aggressive with this system. If I go to Euro 12 Zulu and we look, yeah, being a little bit more sporty with this system. 980, 977, 974, 972, 972, and that's where it bottoms out. So just being a little bit more aggressive with it, but we're starting to get closer in terms of intensity. Starting to get a little bit closer. So we'll see. Still looking at some pretty good winds around that cyclone, though. 20 to 25, maybe 30 knots sustained on the west side and the north side. We're going to get a lot of good wind off the lakes. And right in through here is where I think Michigan is going to have a really good shot at seeing some lake effect. Right in through there, we're going to see more snow pile up because of lake effect snow coming off of, I think that's Lake Michigan, if I'm not mistaken. Don't geography test quiz me, or don't geography test me right now. I'm not that good at eastern and northeastern United States or the Midwest. But yeah, so there you have it, guys. We're still watching and waiting for our snow totals. I do think, and other sources are on board with seeing some very, very good severe weather down here that we're going to have to watch out for. So we'll keep you posted and keep you updated on that. And to answer your question earlier, I can't remember if it was how close are we or Super Charas who asked it. But to be determined if I'm going to go live tomorrow. I might not. We'll see. What do you think of the snow shield pushing farther north in the NAM update this evening into western New York? I am driving up tomorrow from eastern MD to there for college. Either way, I would definitely be very cautious driving up and through because we're going to have dynamic weather going on regardless. The NAM, it's hit or miss with these kind of situations with our baroclinic systems. We'll have to watch and sort of extrapolate our system through. Because now that we actually have our system setting itself up and we're eventually going to see this area wrap around itself, we'll be able to track it forward and see exactly what's going to happen. Because I do believe if I switch over to windy.com, we're starting to finally see our surface low reflect. Yeah, there you go. We're starting to see where our low is forming up. Down over. It's centered over Mississippi, parts of Louisiana right now. So depending on where this tracks, we'll be able to finally get an idea of where our snow is going to fall. And if I had to guess, let me go up a little bit higher so we can get a better look at the circulation. Wow, that's actually a pretty good low-level jet. Look at that, guys. And that's a pretty solid low-level jet right there. But anyways, right in through here is going to be the center of the low, slowly trying to get its act together, so you can determine that right in through here is where we're probably going to see a lot of our snowfall. So as this tracks up and through, we can extrapolate it forward, and we'll see what happens. So to be determined. The NAM, we'll have to watch model by model, run to run, and do some comparison and some initialization and verification to see how it's doing. That'll be the true way to determine and answer your question a little bit more accurately, Noah. All Z, no snow in Florida. Nope, no snow. Not at all. Unfortunately, I'd rather take snow over this. But all right, guys, we're going to go ahead and close out the stream. It is 9:04 p.m. I am done for the day. My brain is oozing out of my right ear. That's why I'm angled this way so you guys can't see. And I'm just playing. No, I'm not. It's not that bad, but I am exhausted. So we're going to go ahead and wrap up the live stream. Thank you very much for being as wonderful of an audience as you guys always are, for great conversation, great camaraderie in the chat, allowing me to go on another one of my hot-winded spiels for the start of 2024 and talk a little bit about the tropics, because it does look like on top of an active winter, we're going to have an active summertime. Not only with our spring and summer thunderstorms, but it looks like the tropics are going to be very pissed off at us, to say the least. So we'll see you again very soon. Definitely stay up on my TikTok, my Instagram, my X, whichever you prefer, or all three. I'd appreciate the support, guys. We're growing on TikTok, thankfully, despite the folks who want to bring the hammer down and yell at me through their phone keyboards. But you know what? It happens. It happens with everything in life. It's bound to happen. You know what? If you got haters, you're doing something right. I'm just kidding. That's corny. But you know what I mean, guys. So we'll keep you posted. Tomorrow we might do an update. We might not. If anything, I might wait till Sunday as we work our way through this first weather situation that we have unfolding over the Gulf Coast right now. And then we'll dig into some higher res model data on Sunday so we can start really nailing down where we're going to go chasing. I still think we're going to start here and just work our way back in like so. That's going to be our route. It's going to be a much longer trek, and I'm going to definitely take you guys along for the ride as best as I can, and we'll see what shakes out. But, folks, thank you very much for watching. Thank you very much for joining. Thank you to all my new potential subscribers. I haven't looked at the number, but I do appreciate each and every single one of you individually, not collectively. I do love you collectively, but I do appreciate every single individual one who hits that subscribe button and tunes in and talks with us. It's great to have you join in our community, and I can't wait to see what else 2024 has in store for the channel and for all of us included. And we'll see you again soon. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your Friday night. And if I don't talk to you within the next 24 hours, a wonderful start for the weekend. And until next time, this is Weather Center Nazario, signing out.